Hello, everyone. You're all very welcome to this webinar today, giving you further information on the MA in Journalism here at UL. So just to introduce myself, my name is Una Grace. I work as postgraduate executive administrator in the Faculty of Arts, Humanities and Social Sciences. So just a bit of housekeeping at the start of the webinar here. I'll unmute the mics for the Q&A session at the end of this webinar, but please feel free to put any questions into the chat function there. Also, just to say this will be recorded and will be sent out to people after the call. So just to make you aware that the session is recorded as well. So firstly, we have an introduction from the course director for the MA in Journalism here, Dr. Niamh Kirk. And then Niamh Kirk will speak to Cian Dalton, an alumni of our programme, who has kindly come to speak with us today also. And then we'll take your Q&A at the end of this session. So I'll hand you over there to Niamh for a quick introduction there, if that's okay.
Oh, thank you very much, Una, and thanks very much for joining us today. You're very welcome, and I'm very glad for the opportunity to be able to give you an overview of the course. So I'm Niamh Kirk, and I'm the course director of the MA in Journalism. And on the MA in Journalism, we have two core pathways. You take either the MA in Journalism and taking a news pathway, or we also have the sports pathway. And in this, you've got some common modules, but then you've got some very focused and dedicated modules depending on which pathway you choose. In UL, we have, as part of the department, we have a very expansive and very experienced team, almost all of whom have a very strong and long background in journalism and later transitioned into academia. So, for example, we've got Dr. Fergal Quinn, who is formerly of RTE, and he develops our broadcast side of things. Audrey Galvin, also from the same stock, and she looks at radio. We've got Catherine Hayes, who is from the Irish Times, and Dr. Henry Selk is our head of journalism. He is the head of our department. So it's a very well experienced team with a long history in journalism across all different mediums: writing, digital, audio, podcasting, and of course TV. So in this course, we tend to think about four or five core kind of categories of skills and professional development that you need to do. So we look at the idea of developing your capacity to work in what is called the trade, or professionalization. There's focused writing training, a range of multimedia training as well, and then to support particularly around the work around dissertations, we have a range of academic modules as well. So essentially, over the course of the year, or the 2 years if you're thinking of doing it part-time, these are some of the topics that you will be addressing. So we do news writing and reporting across 2 modules: investigative journalism. We have 2 multimedia modules that look at radio journalism, sports feature writing, entrepreneurial journalism, so supporting you as an independent journalist or freelancer. And we also have a range of multimedia sessions around Mojo, which is mobile journalism, and various different types of podcasting and web publishing as well. And then, of course, media law and ethics, which are central to the professionalization side of things. So just to give you a little bit of an insight, and also to highlight some minor changes that will be brought in for the coming semester, slight difference from what is currently up on the internet, but only minor. It's we're just moving 2 modules around. So the semester for an MA, or the trimester for an MA, breaks down like this for both news and for sports. And as you can see, we've clear kind of categories where we help and support your development in terms of writing, in terms of your academic development, understanding the rules and regulations of the sector, development in multimedia. We also offer a significant amount of publishing opportunities, which I'll talk about in just a moment. And throughout the semester, we have ongoing industry links with expert seminars. So they will regularly, we have people from industry come in and regularly give talks and workshops to our students. And as you can see here on each of the courses, the process is to build and develop your skills. At the beginning, introducing you to key concepts, so introducing to writing, introduction to the academic theories, law and multimedia. And then in the second semester, developing some more of the advanced skills as well through advanced writing and professionalization. And this is mirrored on the sports course as well, where you also have the introduction to sports communication and sports writing, and then developing into some of the more advanced parts of the course. And again, always with this running opportunities for publishing and ongoing opportunities for engagement with the industry. And then in our final trimester, which runs from May, June, July and August, that's when you work on independently with your supervisor on your dissertation, and your supervisors will in generally be assigned around about March. So you've got quite a bit of time to develop your dissertation project with them. So just to note the slight difference between this timetable and the timetable you might have seen on the internet is we have moved our academic course from the second semester to the first, and the professional skills from the first semester to the second semester. So just to highlight that minor difference in the news pathway. Overall, while these are your core courses, while there are core courses that you must take, we do really encourage that you audit or take the opportunity to participate in other modules. Essentially, auditing is where you participate in a module, but you don't necessarily sit the assessments and you're not graded for it. But it is acknowledged that you audited the module on a transcript, so it is recognized. So, for example, on the news side of things, we have four core classes that we would encourage you to audit. And same with the sports pathway, we have four news courses that we would advise people to audit to help grow and expand the range of journalism that you can engage in and publish in throughout the year. And then, of course, you are free to audit other university courses and modules where you want to. Just to give you an insight into the schedule, essentially what the actual timetable looks like on the MA journalism course. We are very sensitive to the fact that a lot of people will be working or working part-time or in various different roles when they're undertaking an MA. Some people come to develop their careers, some people come in to change careers, and there are various different cases behind this. So for our course, all of our taught modules, so all of the days that you would be on campus would be on a Monday and Tuesday. They are quite intensive teaching days, but they are also very kind of energized and high level of motivation and good fun, I guess, throughout these two very busy days. So all of the taught modules do take place on a Monday or Tuesday. If you were doing the course part-time, you would come in on a Monday in your first year and Tuesday in your second year. And if you're doing the course full-time, you're in on both days. This means that the rest of the week, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday, can be devoted to things like field work, because you're going to be, you would be writing and producing journalism from very early on in the course. It also facilitates studio access. So if you need to go and book time in the radio studio or TV studios, you can do that. And it also facilitates various different types of independent work that you will be required to do, but you will not have time to do on a Monday or a Tuesday with the taught modules. So that's how our course in general breaks down in terms of our scheduling. Just to note, we are one of the, I think we're the only one, certainly in Ireland, as an MA course or as a department of journalism, we have our own independent newspaper. This is not a student newspaper. This is a local newspaper called the Limerick Voice. It has its own devoted website, and you would have the opportunity and to publish, submit, pitch and publish to this newspaper on an ongoing basis from very early on in the master's course. So as well as having ongoing publishing opportunities with the Limerick Voice, we also have 2 dedicated live news days where essentially we take our own newsroom, which I'll explain when we get to our facilities, but we essentially take over our newsroom for the day, and it operates as a fully functioning newsroom where we maintain and essentially produce the newspaper live. So that happens twice a year in the first and second semester, the live news days. We also have a broadcast week. So we've got 2 broadcast weeks. In fact, we've got one that looks at audio and podcasting and radio, and then the second one is our TV broadcasting week. And we have some of our older broadcasts up on YouTube if you'd like to spend a bit of time just to look at the type of things that people have done in previous years regarding this. So for this, we have our own TV studio, and you can, again, book time and practice and develop your own short broadcasts, as well as working on the live broadcasts that we have twice a year. And then on top of the TV studio and our TV facilities, there's also UL-FM. So this is something that is run fundamentally by the students and the Students' Union, but many of our journalism students, both undergrad and postgrad, will participate in this. And in the UL-FM, you can actually develop and produce your own your own radio show and run it live throughout the year. So we currently have 2 students with their own radio shows on UL-FM. And just to highlight some of the facilities that we have to enable all of this, as well as having our own TV studio, which again, you can book time in it. And also we will take over the TV studio for broadcasting week. We also have a radio studio. These are both very modern new facilities that have been developed in the past few years, and all of the equipment is industry standard and highly modernized. And we also have our own dedicated and devoted newsroom that is just for our journalism students, and no other university students have access to the newsroom. And this basically allows you to go in to use our Mac labs, so our Macs. This allows you to go in and do any editing work that you need to do, or any of the digital kind of publication work that you need to do. So we have dedicated applications on those Macs in our devoted newsroom. And just to highlight some, I guess, of the outcomes of the postgraduate course, you can exit in May with a postgraduate diploma in journalism if that's something that you want to do. So that is always an option, or you can go ahead and progress on to complete the dissertation and the master's. And people will choose one or the other for various different reasons. Some of our students will find themselves working before the end of the year, and sometimes they may need to take the graduate diploma. However, we do encourage and deeply support all students to progress and complete the dissertation and the master's programme. And finally, just to highlight some of the opportunities that we have, ongoing opportunities are there to build your portfolio through publishing. And those opportunities are there from the first or second week of the MA course. We do get regular requests for students, particularly postgraduate students, to apply for roles during the term. So far this year, I counted 12. So that means employers that will essentially email me as the course director and forward positions that they have open, and ask me to forward these to students to have them apply. We also do ongoing support for freelancing. So any journalism work that you produce as part of the course, we tend to encourage you to publish it or to pitch it to other publications, national newspapers, magazines, or the Limerick Voice. So there's ongoing support to develop your own portfolio and support for your independent work. And we also do a lot of support regarding postgraduate internship application. A lot of the newspapers and a lot of the TV stations have postgraduate internships. Very often they will be around a specific role. So for example, I think it's RTE currently have 2 going for TV and broadcast. And we will work with you if you want to apply for those internships and help you develop your applications. So that is really just a brief overview, I guess, of the course as it is. And if you've got any questions about it, I'll be delighted to answer them.
We might play the video there as well, Niamh, just for, we just have a
Yeah,
short video on the MA programme as well, just highlighting some of the key selling points that Niamh has spoken about there.
Doing an MA in journalism in UL gives you an opportunity to get work ready for what is a very fast evolving industry. In UL, we give you the basics, so people who have no background in journalism, and also people who are coming from industry and want to specialize in a particular area, whether that's news, whether that's sport, whether that's data. We offer various elective pathways that help you to get better and specialize in those areas.
The journalism aspect of the university here is impeccable. The standard of, say, the studios with top class computers and digital equipment, you do have the facilities to do really well.
Journalism here in UL, it really helps students and equips them with skills that are very transferable to other careers such as PR or communication roles and indeed marketing.
One of the big advantages to doing an MA in UL is that we're very flexible in terms of how we deliver our course, whether you want to do the course primarily online or in person, small class sizes, lots of one-on-one mentoring and lots of time with instructors. One of the capstone exercises that our students do is TV Newsday, where they deliver an actual TV bulletin over the course of a single day.
That was a huge highlight of the course for me because it was so teamwork involved.
In the news world, you have to be able to adjust. In our group specifically, we've really got closer on the news days because you're relying on your class.
That epitomizes the kind of transformative learning we really try to push here in journalism at UL. One of the key selling points of the course is that we help arrange a placement in one of our industry partners. So we have partners with most of the local newspapers and radio stations and the national radio and TV stations.
When the students from UL come and work with us on their placement, we find they are ready to go. And the hires that we've had in the Limerick Leader over the years have not stayed with the Limerick Leader very long either because they're such top quality journalists. They're just driving to be national journalists, international journalists.
I've got a huge love for Limerick as a city, and coming at it from a journalist perspective, you get to see the city in a whole new way, you know, because journalism is so focused on people and place. And I think Limerick is such a wonderful city for creative, colourful characters and their great stories.
When it comes to the actual most important part of what I've learned in the course, the networking and the communications, these connections and contacts that you wouldn't meet in an ordinary environment.
We bring in adjuncts from the industry, exemplars in the industry, whether in RTE or the Irish Examiner or the Irish Times. So they work with us in terms of designing a course, and also that they're coming in giving workshops.
And getting to meet those people who do this job every day, and for them to say, look, if you want some help, drop me an email. You know, to be building those contacts before you enter an industry is huge.
With journalism, you can connect with people on a whole new level. For me, that's my love for journalism and my love for meeting people, and I think that's so important that people can tell their story.
Thanks, Una. That was that's super, and I think as a video, it gives a really good and nice insight and visuals of our newsroom and our TV studio and radio studio as well. I also noted something that I forgot to mention is that we also do newspaper publication as well as part of this. And in fact, tomorrow we're going to be launching with the Limerick Leader, the actual newsprint version of the Limerick Voice. And it is a significant publication that comes out once a year. So I'm just going to take a few minutes now to chat with, I'm going to invite and introduce you to Cian Dalton, who is a former student on the MA in journalism. He's currently working in Griffith College in Cork. And in fact, he's going to be coming back to deliver some seminars on our course, given his experience over the past few years. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon, Cian. It's very much appreciated. Can I just ask you, I guess, to start off and to help people maybe figure out their own thinking on this, what kind of provoked you to do a master's in journalism at UL?
Yeah, thanks, Niamh. Thanks for having me, and nice to meet you all. Hopefully, you can hear me okay. So yeah, no, I did my undergraduate in UL in arts. I did English and psychology, and then lived abroad for a few years in New York. And I started writing a blog and stuff. And I was always interested in writing, but I always wanted to get into journalism. While I was living abroad, I was just working to survive, as you do when you're living in New York. You're just paycheck to paycheck for a while. And so when I decided to move home, I was looking at different colleges. I was looking at Griffith College in Dublin. I was looking at CIT at the time, MTU in Cork. And then I just found I knew UL already. And then after speaking to Dr. Fergal Quinn at the time, I had a call with him about the course, and I just got a very good feeling about it. So I'd been kind of blogging, writing my own movie reviews, and just bits for myself really for years, getting more involved in my local community here in my village in Cork. And then so that's why I decided, and there was the option for the full-time or part-time, which I found great. I did the part-time. I think I might have been the only person who did the part-time over my 2 years. Maybe there was someone in my second year, but it was great. It was great for me to be able to work for the rest of the week. I could focus on writing on the weekends as well, and the 1 or 2 days was ideal. And I knew UL as well. That was the thing. It wasn't like I was still obviously nervous to come back to education a bit later, back to do my masters. But there was such a mix on the course. It's not everybody's not 23 just coming straight from their undergraduate. There's people who were in their 30s, 40s, 50s. It was everybody. It was brilliant. And I'm just so glad I signed up in the end, because it was during lockdown as well. And it would have been very easy for me to say, no, I'm fine. I'll stay doing what I'm doing. But it was a good step in the end.
I'm glad to hear it. And can I just ask, what about the program? You leaned into writing an awful lot, but what about the program did you enjoy, I guess?
There was a lot of collaboration, and it was very, very practical. So that was the best thing for me. You heard Adam and Tara on the video there. They were when I was doing my second year, the part-time, talk about the news days and the facilities and the radio days. Those were some of my favorite days on campus. They're very high action. You can be a tiny bit stressed. You learn to deal with it, but those were some great days. Especially the broadcast media class with Fergal Quinn in my second year, and the radio class in my first year with Audrey were brilliant days. Just because you got to learn how to use so much different software, produce a radio show, produce a podcast, shoot a news video, a news style video. So those were brilliant. And then I did lean into the writing a bit and got some great opportunities through the same lectures as well. So those are some of my favorite bits about the course, just the practicality of it. And then you collaborate with your colleagues, your peers on your course, and with the lecturers too, who give you great insights and great help on those days.
And do you think there was anything that helped you prepare for the course, or in terms of thinking about entering it? Is there some, what do you think? As you mentioned, or as the video mentioned, we do not tend to not assume that there is prior experience, but what can help some people thinking about joining the course, maybe to prepare for it?
Yeah, I think if you're a good writer, it obviously helps. If you're into writing, I think just in terms of having an open mind about the course as well. I think when people think of a master's, there's obviously going to be some reading and theory and kind of heavy reading as well, especially in journalism, because you have to back up your sources, you have to research and everything. So you do have to have that kind of skill as well. And if you're coming straight from your undergraduate, you might be a bit more in tune with it. Sometimes if you're going back a bit later, obviously you might have had 5 or 6 years like I did out of college, and it takes a while to get that back. I know myself, it took a while to get into the swing of things, but once you're a good writer and you're prepared to work hard, you'll be fine. And if you're willing to work hard, that's kind of the main goal. It's a great course. Can't speak highly enough of it, but good writer, definitely.
Oh, thanks. And just thinking about the person that you were when you entered the course, and in terms of the skills that you developed by the end, what do you think, or how did that work out for you, or what skills kind of were new and introduced, I guess, over the course of the 2 years?
Yeah, well, I definitely developed my writing. I was more, you know, writing personal pieces and movie reviews on my own blog just for myself and enjoy, you know, kind of had that style down. You know, once you develop your own style and you're comfortable with your own writing, that's great. But in terms of journalistic writing, um, I had some great lecturers and teachers in the first in both years, obviously, but to actually develop a journalistic style of writing and learning how to match a style of a certain publication. Like I worked in Cork BO there for freelancing for just while I was doing my master's and after I finished the dissertation. And that's a totally different style of writing to, let's say, the Irish Times, obviously, or even the Echo. You know, it's very much a kind of a not casual, but more direct and to the point. So it was in terms of recognizing and replicating styles like that was a great skill I picked up. We had a brilliant module on freelancing in my second year of the part-time, and in terms of pitching and making sure that you're you know making yourself making sure that you're giving yourself enough credit and enough worth in what you're going to charge publications. Definitely dealing with people was another thing. I'd be a very friendly, affable person myself, but not everybody is like that. And dealing with different people in terms of getting interviews, developing a thick skin is something that you know, you kind of have to have as a journalist as well, especially in freelancing. You know, you're probably going to get more no's than you're going to get you know, acceptances. It's very easy to kind of be like, oh, maybe this isn't for me, maybe I'm not doing it right, but you have to start back up again, keep going. So I think obviously the practical skills, writing, the broadcast and radio, like I spoke about, but in terms of developing a thick skin and accepting a no, not taking no as a definite, maybe it's a try again, and getting up and going again is definitely something that I still use to this day when I'm in my own job now and in freelancing when I'm applying for different roles and different features and stuff like that.
Yeah, that motivation for freelancing is key to keep you going. And just finally, thinking about hindsight, you know, it's 2020. What kind of advice would you give, you know, yourself before you entered the course, or your younger self in terms of taking a step into journalism and how training can help it?
Yeah, I think if I could give advice to myself, even back in 2016 when I finished my undergraduate, you know, not everybody knows what they want to do. It's great when someone does know what they want to do, but I wish that I knew that I wanted to do journalism back in 2016 instead of 2020, just to have a few more years experience and more years kind of trying to do it, because it was such a fantastic course. Just, you know, the supports are unbelievable. The four people at the start of the presentation, there are Catherine, Henry, Fergal, Audrey, and Niamh as well. Niamh, you were my dissertation supervisor, and I can honestly say without Niamh, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today. I'd be doing something else. But those 5 people and the other people that lecture on the course as well, supports are unbelievable. So I wish I went into it earlier, but no regrets. I'm glad I did it at the time I did. I started working in marketing now and still freelancing and trying to make my kind of mark as well. One last thing I'd say is just the networking opportunities that were spoken about in the video as well, like Adam Leahy, who was in the video with the Limerick Post. Tara McCormack has her own kind of career coaching page now, as well as being on the front cover of RSVP. You're going to meet so many different people that will be of a help to you. They'll be your friends. They'll be great people to know. You'll be talking to them regularly, but they'll be great people to know professionally in the future. So yeah, in hindsight, wish I started earlier, but glad I completed the course and glad to have so many friends and colleagues out of the course as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a great camaraderie among everyone, and we do stay in touch. You just fold into the kind of media journalism space in Ireland, I guess. Thanks so much, Cian. I really appreciate your insights, and if you could stay around, there might be some questions for you.
Of course, you're welcome. No problem.
Just to let you know, Niamh, the mics are unmuted if anyone wants to unmute their mic in the audience there. I don't see anything in the chat at the moment, but we might give it a couple of minutes in case people are digesting what they've just heard. I just have a question there just for the audience as well, just on the application process. What would you advise that students include in their application from your point of view as someone who's reviewing the applications directly?
Yeah, I think that highlighting any kind of experience that you have in this space is super, but it is important to note that we really don't, and we're very aware that on the MA, we're looking at people who are changing careers. We have people who are coming from pharmacy, from business, from any kind of space that you can imagine, seeking to change careers. So on one level, we really assume no knowledge. However, having some sort of interest or engagement with either a subject or something, for example, on the sports pathway, if you are engaged with your local sports teams or you already kind of put work into that sort of space, it's really useful to highlight those kinds of things. And then on the news pathway, again, something similar. If you are working or advocating or active in some sort of space that you want to progress through this journalism course, that's something that I think it is keen to highlight. But ultimately, yeah, we are also kind of key to this is really the motivation and that kind of engagement with news. It's hard to articulate, but having that kind of news hound attitude is very beneficial.
That's great, and I think it'll be very beneficial to people on the call thinking of or considering an MA in journalism. I still don't see any questions. Please don't be shy if you want to unmute your mics as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've Paul there. We've Paul with his hand up, so feel free to speak up there, Paul, if you wish.
Hey guys, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, super. Coming to you live from Galway. Sorry, I wasn't sure whether to raise your hand or put it in the chat. Just on the dissertation, actually, I was just curious as to how a dissertation looked. I've done one many years ago, a lot of writing. Actually did it with a broken arm as well. But what kind of structure does a dissertation take? Does it depend on obviously the topic or the type of media maybe you're focused on? I'm just curious to how it's structured and what the requirements are.
Yeah, that's a great question, and one I should have included in the presentation, but we actually have two types. So there's two approaches that you can take to the dissertation. One is the journalism practical, and that means that as such, you would do a substantial, about 75% of the work that you would do would be focused on some practical piece of journalism. So it's either a long form piece of written work, it would be a documentary if you wanted to do it as broadcast, and similarly it would be an audio documentary or a podcast if you wanted to do the audio theme to it. So you can do the journalism practical, and then you would, with that, you do a short focused literature review to highlight your academic acumen. And then the other option is that you would do a more traditional academic style dissertation, very normative kind of approach to that. And then with that, you would do a small focused piece of journalism, again, written, broadcast or audio, depending on what way you want to go. And then in terms of the topics, that would more align with the supervisor that you would be given. So depending on what area, if it is, we have a range of supervisors and skills and topic knowledge in the department. So that's where that alignment would come in. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you very much. Yeah, no, definitely answers it. It's good to hear because, as you mentioned, the two different types as well. It's good to think about that. Yeah. Thank you.
Pleasure, thank you. Claire.
We've Claire there. Sorry, yeah, go on.
So my question is, when would be the internship like with the academic year, when it takes place?
So with the internship, we've had a bit of a strange flip in that we are finding that there are increasingly people looking to hire people on throughout the course. So in general, it is after the MA dissertation is done, and it can be usually would start sometime in September, and it's about 4 weeks. However, over the past few years, all of our graduates have been working by the time September has come around in the media industry, or are freelancing in some way, shape or form. And also we have had, as I mentioned, significant amounts of interest in the graduates throughout the year. So, and again, our schedule very much recognises this and accommodates people to take on paid work on a part-time basis or a freelance basis from as early in the year as you are willing, I guess. Does that help answer the question?
Yes, completely. Thank you.
No problem, yeah. And yes, I think we've so far 12 organisations, separate organisations have come to us already this year seeking graduates to apply for roles. So we would really strongly encourage you to take up those roles where possible. Is there any other questions?
There doesn't seem to be in the chat there, Niamh, at the moment. Paul again, I think. Yeah.
I'm great for questions, guys. Sorry, I've switched mics as well. I think my laptop mic was being used, but I hope.
Already a great start, Paul, to be honest.
I was going to ask, is there much in any of the specific modules in and around social media? I suppose as a medium of consuming content, right? I think about, journalism or consuming content. I read a lot, and I heard a lot. Cian seemed to be saying a lot of similar ways in terms of how you enjoy writing, but people enjoy content a lot differently nowadays, I would say. So I'm just curious to know, is there much focus on social media, different kind of platforms that people consume content through in the course?
Yeah, that's sort of built into the broadcast and multimedia strand of the course. And it's also built into our professionalization module. So it is with social media. So we look at it in 3 different ways. So we look at social monitoring. So there is a whole dedicated class on social monitoring. So basically how you gather and identify and verify news online. Then there is, with all of our work, really, we're very multimedia in this. If you do something and you write it, you should probably translate it for lots of different mediums. And social media is obviously one of these mediums. And we have a new member of staff joined us last year, Aoife Sheehan from RTE. And she does a lot of the social media production work. So training people in visuals, kind of the visual creativity around that, and also kind of effective communication on social media. So yeah, we look at that kind of from 2 different perspectives, I guess. One kind of, more the gathering, fact checking and verification, and then social media production across mediums. Great. We have our own, just to note as well, we have our own, so we've Instagram, we're on TikTok. The Limerick Voice as an official has official pages across all mediums, so Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. Yeah, awesome, thank you. Claire, is that another question, or is that the old question?
I have another one actually, yeah. So it would be more on the international opening of the diploma. So with this diploma, can we actually work abroad, or do we have to stay more in Ireland?
No, the whole, the media industry and the journalism sector is global, and that's the space that we train journalists for. On our news pathway, all but one of our students is an international student, or 2, sorry, excuse me, all but 2 of our students are international students, and their goal is to work internationally in Italy, in Nigeria, in China, in various different parts of the world. So in terms of the topic interests, we deeply encourage you to take those topic interests into the class. So that's one kind of key thing. And in terms of pitching, training and thinking about where you publish, we would be very keen that you would look internationally and take the advantage of effectively being a foreign correspondent, for example, in Ireland. If you're an international student, you can start to think of yourself as a foreign correspondent already and start pitching and working to newspapers, both local and national, from wherever you might be from, or wherever you can pitch to. Does that make sense?
Yep, thank you very much.
Yeah.
There doesn't seem to be anything else coming in there, Niamh. I've just added both myself and your contact details. For application queries, might be good to come to myself, and for content, academic content queries, maybe Niamh is better placed there. Unless anyone has any final questions there, we might wrap up. Please speak now if you have any queries or anything.
Yep.
At the moment, I don't see
Thanks,
anything.
guys. It was very informative. Will you be sharing with like the slides or the content that was on the screen?
We've recorded the session actually, Paul,
Okay,
so
great.
we'll share it with all registered people after
Super.
the call there.
Yeah.
Thanks, Una. That's great. Thanks, Niamh and Cian.
Super. Thanks so much. Yeah, I look forward to hearing from you or being in contact soon.
And thanks to Cian. Thank you.
Thanks again, Cian. Much appreciate you talking to the guys directly.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
All right, I think we'll wrap up. So thanks everyone. Bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.